Hello, you are watching Let's Talk. I am your host, DJ Kelly, and my co-host is Todd Williams.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're very welcome. And today we have a very special guest for you. He has been awarded 6 times the Guardian of Small Business Award, and he is also the Assembly Minority Leader of New York State. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Cole.
Thank you, Kelly and Todd. Great to be with you both today.
You have a background in business and entrepreneurship, which you are very passionate about. Can you tell us what is going on in this particular area in upstate New York right now?
Well, thanks for asking, Kelly. You know, first of all, some of my background is before I got into the state legislature, I owned my own business with my 3 partners in Wayne County and have spent more of my professional career in the private sector than in the public sector. So I think I know firsthand what challenges businesses face in our state, especially small businesses. And these are the folks that really carry the day in terms of job creation throughout our state, that also have the highest challenges in trying to pay taxes, especially property taxes, a regulatory environment where you have challenges to overcome both with local governments and also state government. And I think New Yorkers have a great entrepreneurial spirit. But what they're really saying is, I'd love to do more, but it's a very difficult environment to create a business in.
In 2015, a report showed that New York State spent $8 billion on economic incentives. Where are we seeing the benefits of that spending?
Well, certainly it's a combined investment, not only of state taxpayer dollars, but local taxpayer dollars as well. And really what's been missing, Kelly, is a true measurement of what money has been spent, what's the return on investment, or in other words, how many jobs have actually been created as a result of those investments. Because, you know, I've been mentioned, or has been mentioned, that downtown revitalization grants, whether they're in Auburn or Geneva or other places in New York, in some cases money hasn't even been distributed yet, so there's no way to measure if the jobs really were created or could be created as a result of those investments.
Why is New York State so behind on this issue?
Well, I think one of the problems is, Todd, is that we have the highest or second highest combined state and local tax burden. We have one of the second or third worst business climates in the nation. And this is not a political statement. These are statistics that are put out by outside business groups that evaluate not just New York State's economy, but other states across the nation. And certainly when you have a high tax environment, which we do, in a very broad, overburdensome regulatory environment, in essence, that's New York State has to try to hand out taxpayer dollars to incentivize businesses to stay here or to come here. And if we started really working on the root cause of our high taxes and overburdensome regulations to make it a much more business-friendly state, then we can become more competitive with other states. But certainly, you know, one of the things that, and it sounds like I'm a broken record right now, but people always cite the high cost of living and operating a business in New York compared to other states. And even if you look at, let's say, the state of Florida, or the state of Tennessee, or the North Carolina, where some of our jobs migrate to, it's because it costs a lot less money to operate that business compared to how it would cost them in New York. And that's why New York is sort of behind the 8 ball on the business environment in terms of its rankinship of whether it's friendly or not.
Being a former small business owner, is this particularly frustrating for you?
Well, it's frustrating to me because ultimately it's about getting our families to be able to stay here.
Does it seem silly to you, Brian, that not even our schools could even prepare the young people for the workforce anymore?
Well, I don't know if it's silly. I think it's unfortunate. And I think there's been so much focus on identifying a number of students that actually go to college which is only one measurement. And there's a lot of students that really may not want to attend college or may not have a particular field of study at college that could lead to a job. And I think there are a lot of employment opportunities outside a college where people are more vocationally driven, such as working in skilled trades. That's being an electrician, a carpenter, a plumber, because these are well-paying jobs. And there's a lot of folks that have a very good mechanical aptitude, in other words, working with their hands, versus necessarily going to further their classroom study.
What's the most important thing we in the workforce can do?
Well, I think it's always about furthering your education and training. And there's a lot of different skill sets that you can learn even through mentoring or practicing or doing an internship at a local business, where sometimes you can get paid to do that and sometimes not, just to go in and expand your knowledge and training.
Being a Republican, you believe that less government is better. But wouldn't you agree that the government has tied our hands, making it impossible for us to forge the American dream on our own?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's been made very difficult, a lot more difficult than it needs to be. And that's government at not only the state level, but in Washington, but also local governments. I can tell you from experience that sometimes when a business or even someone that wants to build a new home at the local level has to go through an entire permitting process, which is a lot of paperwork and a lot of cost to build on property that they own. And people get frustrated when there's delays, when it takes 3 months or 6 months or sometimes even a year to get an approval from local governments to proceed with their business. And that's where people get really frustrated, and sometimes probably a little angry too, that they have to jump through hoops when they own their own property and they're trying to invest in the property, create some jobs and construction jobs, and they think government should be making it easier for them to do, not harder for them to do.
We'd like to thank Assemblyman Brian Cope for being on our show. It was an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for taking the time to come to our studio.
And actually, it's an honor for me. I really appreciate Todd and you, Kelly, for doing the show with me. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot from both of you, and certainly I want to wish both of you a very prosperous 2018. And anything I can do to help you, please let me know.
Thank you so very much. This has been Let's Talk, and we will see you next time.
Ooh.